Hello, we are happy to be here once again. I hope some of you have been here, have heard us before, but if not, welcome and welcome everyone. I'm Ms. Shepherd, and we are here today on July the 2nd of 2020. That's when we're recording this, to talk with you about mindfulness practice, meditation, and just mindfulness in your daily life. So I'm here with two of my friends, and I'll let them say hello as well.
Hello, I'm Mr. Keogh, another one of the Wisconsin Prison Mindfulness Initiative volunteers. It's a mouthful. We used to come into the prisons, and now we're doing this one way, but we're hoping that we'll be able to meet you guys in person before too long.
Hello, I'm Mr. Cresswell, another of the volunteers, and I'm hoping that we can help through this medium, help you use mindfulness in your lives, because it's been so helpful to each of us three.
Thank you both. So today we'll run this video similarly to what we've done in the past. So we'll begin with a guided meditation, and I'll put an image on the screen so that if you want to leave your eyes open, you can sort of loosely focus on the image. If you'd like to close your eyes, you're invited to do that as well. Following the guided meditation, we'll have some reflections from Mr. Keogh, and then each of us will respond to them as well. And then we'll end with another short guided meditation. Also, we want to mention to you that if you have questions about mindfulness or comments about anything you've heard in these videos, you are invited to contact your chaplain or whoever it is that's running the program through which you're hearing this. And they can get the questions to us so that we can then respond to them in our next video. We would be happy to do that, to have some way of interacting with you. So if you'd like to do that, please do so. Send it to your chaplain or the person in the psychological services, if that's who's running your mindfulness program, whoever it may be. Okay. And with that, we will, I'll put the image on the screen and we will begin our guided meditation.
So beginning by bringing the body into an erect posture, erect and relaxed. Feeling as if there's a gentle string on the top and back of the head pulling up. And as the erect posture is established, letting go around that erect spine. Feeling where the hands are, feeling any agitation, and letting go gently of that. Feeling the shoulders, the back of the neck, feeling any tension that might be there. And then inviting that to release as best it can. Feeling any tension or busyness there might be around the eyes, in the forehead and temple. And inviting that to release. and allow that feeling of release and surrender to gravity, feeling that come down into the rest of the face. Letting the jaw drop if it wants to. Feeling the loosening around the throat. And then coming down into the front of the body, the chest area and the belly. And as we invite this area to relax, and it does relax, we will notice the movement that's still there, which is the movement of the breath. The rising and falling of the belly. Perhaps the expansion in the chest. And taking a couple of slow and deep breaths, slow in and slow out, in order to make these sensations clearer. And as you do this, inviting the body to relax, with the breath. Feeling a very gentle, energizing with the in-breath and a letting go with the out-breath. Continuing to breathe as the body wants to breathe, and noticing, energizing with the in-breath and letting go with the out-breath. It may be useful to keep the mind from wandering, to use a gentle noting of in with the in-breath and out with the out-breath. With the goal being to have most of the attention on the actual physical sensations. And on the general body tone, the general feeling within the body, the energizing with the in-breath and the letting go with the out-breath. Giving yourself a break here to let go of the concerns of the day, to let go of any concerns about the future, and to just be with this body. using the breath to help repeatedly bring the attention into the body. Inviting the body to relax, and at the same time, being okay with any agitation that you feel. If it helps to keep the attention on the breathing body, you can also bring in the feeling of the breath at the nostrils. Whether you use the breath at the nostrils, at the chest, or at the belly, or some combination of those, can depend on what allows you to stay comfortably with the attention on the breathing body. If it's especially difficult to keep the mind from running away, you can also use a gentle noting of one, one through the first breath, two through the second breath, going up to 10, and then going back down to 1. No success or failure here. Only doing the best we can in each moment. And that's good enough.
Thank you, Mr. Cresswell. That was very nice. The viewers, just take a few seconds and just notice how you're feeling now. Maybe compare yourself now from 10 minutes earlier. Notice any changes. You might be feeling a little bit more relaxed, a little bit lower key. One of the big values of meditation is that it does help us deal with stress a little bit better, gives our body a little chance to calm down, actually heal ourselves. So I thought I'd take some time on this video and talk a little bit about what we can do when we have some more mindfulness in our life. So as you remember, what we've talked about before is we meditate like we just experienced, not to become great meditators in itself, but that does have a tendency to kind of, that ability to slow down, relax a little bit, does kind of make us a little bit less reactive in our daily lives. You know, we use those two words, reactive, when something is happening and we automatically do something in response. Respond is when we think about what we're going to do and then we do it. So we go ahead and do something after a moment of consideration. That's a response. A reaction is automatic. A reaction is basically habit. And as we meditate more, we get better at having a little bit of a chance to respond when something happens rather than simply react on automatic habit. That's what we want to do. So, you know, in the time that that we've been coming into prisons, all of us have heard quite often, guys will check in and say, you know, they're doing okay. A guy will say, I'm doing okay. There's this one problem. There's another guy that really gets on my nerves. And this is, you know, this comes up enough that I'm sure that it's something that is we all have this kind of this one big problem in our life, or maybe it's big, maybe it's not so big, but we have some person who is a source of trouble for us, one level or another, and people who've been around prison for a while, you know, they know you've learned, you keep your distance. You know, if a person's trouble, you kind of stay away. You don't need that trouble. But even when you try to stay away, there's still plenty of irritation maybe in the picture. And sometimes in life, there's a situation where you can't get away. Or maybe sometimes there's a situation with a person who's often trouble for you where you don't really want to get away. Another thing that people will mention sometimes is they'll be on the phone with somebody, and you know, a lot of the times the phone call doesn't go so well. You know, it ends up being everybody gets aggravated with everybody else, and then you feel bad as a result. But you want the phone call. You know, you want to be connecting with this person, but somehow things kind of go south. Things don't go well, and you're not gonna just distance yourself. You may, but maybe you don't want to. So there's another way to deal with this. We'll put mindfulness into practice. We'll put our response to something that happens instead of reaction as what we want to do. And the technique that I'm going to talk about today is putting yourself in the shoes of the other person. You've heard this, probably have heard this, this phrase before, you know, walk a mile in my shoes. You know, what you're doing here is trying to understand more, trying to imagine what's going on with that other person. Why is he or she acting this way? There's a phrase that one of the other mindfulness teachers used one time, one of my early times coming into the prison groups. And he said, just remember, hurt people hurt other people. People who are hurting are likely to be causes of trouble for the people around them because they're in pain and they deal with it by hurting people around them. This is an important thing to keep in mind. I think this is just a hugely valuable phrase. Take this with you and think about this for a while later on, you know, after we're finished with this call. Hurt people hurt other people. see how it feels for you in terms of the way you react yourselves, or the way another person might be reacting to you. See how it fits. What we're doing when we, if this seems like it holds water for you, try putting it into practice when there's somebody that's aggravating. And you might try it out in small, in a small case, in a situation where someone is just kind of temporarily being bothersome. Think about, hurt people hurt other people. Is this person acting out because of something that's really bothering them? That's something that's on their case. Now, this is not about making an excuse for someone's behavior at all. This is simply about understanding where they're coming from, why they're acting this way, or maybe not even fully understanding, but getting a little bit better handle on what could be happening that would lead them to be acting the way that they do. We're certainly, there are a lot of situations out there where there's just no way that they ought to be excused for what they're doing. But the more you can imagine yourself, kind of putting yourself in their shoes, imagine, if I was acting that way, why would I be acting that way? That develops that sense within you that there's another person out here. It's not just something that's causing me trouble. There's another person out here that's interacting with me. They're trying to get something out of me. Maybe they're just trying to make their life in some kind of weird, unskillful way. They're trying to bring a little bit of pleasure, happiness in their life by making me feel bad. If I can I'm not reacting to that, I'm just seeing that in them. Oh man, they're trying to become happier that way. Good luck. That's not going to make them happier at all. If I can kind of come in with that kind of understanding, my reactiveness might turn into something else where I actually might be a little bit cooler headed, a little bit more able to kind of deal with them in some way. Maybe there's something I can say to them that would be totally surprising to them that actually might make them feel better. Who knows? The point is that we're taking our main attention outside of our own response. What did he do to me? And putting it into the other person, kind of going out to the other person. What's up with that person? Not in a negative, judgmental way. What's wrong with that person? But much more into, really, what's going on with that person? It can kind of open us up to a lot more possibilities in the way we respond, rather than just getting all riled up ourselves. Now, maybe you find out that, oh, this person is hurting because he's in exactly the same awful situation that I'm in. I know totally why this person's hurting because I'm there too. We're exactly in the same situation. Now, it's not going to help if this is the situation, and could well be. It doesn't help at all to start thinking, how come he can't handle this better as well as I can? Why can't he do as good a job as I can? That's not going to help at all. Another line of thought might be, though, oh, he's not as skillful at dealing with this as I am. I'm lucky. I can deal with this without having to descend to do the stuff that he's doing. This can kind of keep you a little bit more open to thinking about it. This approach can make things smoother. It's not going to take care of the underlying issue. If there's some basic issue between a couple people, this is not going to solve the issue. But what it might do is keep people relating to each other where they're not flying off the handle or not reacting to the other person flying off the handle. This sounds like a lot of theory, but just thinking about my own history here. I'm divorced, and it was not one of the better times of my life, and this is before I had much mindfulness practice. But this other person did not disappear from the face of the earth. She's still around. And now I am, having learned what I've learned and trying to become less reactive and trying to kind of understand more where the other person is coming from, why the other person is acting the way they do, you know, in any particular situation. It has made me a lot less reactive. It has caused a lot less trouble, a lot less aggravation on my part. It doesn't change what might be aggravating me, but it changes the way I respond to whatever that aggravation is. And that's the essence of the skill that we're learning in mindfulness, is we're under control of our own responses to whatever might be out coming at us that might not be all that great. So, and not to mention, this has helped other people in our lives too. You know, their children involved, and things are smoother. There's no way I would want to get back together. We're not dealing with the underlying incompatibility, but we are dealing with, okay, I can relate, we can relate to each other and and deal with each other with even tempered almost all the time. Maybe more than almost all, really almost all the time. So I think that that's kind of what I wanted to say. It all starts with meditation, a daily meditation practice like you experienced before in this video and you'll experience again. Daily meditation practice does help us become less reactive. When we're less reactive, that gives us the chance to think rather than react. And then what we're thinking about can be putting myself in the other person's shoes. So with that, I'll wonder if either of the other panelists have any reactions or responses, reflections on this.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Keogh, for that lovely reflection. So what it makes me think of really is kindness. That what the meditation allows us to do is to pause and respond, as Mr. Keogh says, respond with kindness, not with a self-centered view of what do I need and what do I want. It very much lets us learn, well, you know, I'm pretty aware of what I want and what I need, but how might I open my perspective to try to get a sense of, well, what's happening over there? What's happening for that other person, for those other people? And how might I see that in a way that's kind of not so so influenced really by me and what I feel and what I want and how I think it should be, but instead tries to really see clearly, well, what's going on for them? And one of the most sort of moving to me and beautiful examples of this happened, or I saw it on television. I guess it was maybe 8 months ago now, within the year, I think. And it was in a school, I believe it was a high school, I can't remember which state it was. And it was someone, a prior student who came to the school loaded with all kinds of guns and broke into the school. And fortunately there was I think he was an administrator of some sort that saw this person heading into the school with all of these guns. And this person had the mindfulness to see what was happening for that person who was so distraught, so agitated, set on doing violence. And he went up to that young man with all of these guns and he hugged him. Mm-hmm. Some of you may have seen that on television, that he was both restraining him, but and enabling someone to come and take the guns away. But mostly what he was doing was recognizing this man was distraught. This man was suffering. This man was over the top. And just giving him some human contact, some kindness. Just, you know, I'm here. I'm sorry you're having a hard time. Now, you know, that was just remarkable. And it's not that usually we can do something like that. And sometimes that might not even be helpful. But often it is the case that someone who is reacting in that way, really over the top in some way, is reacting to things they feel they can't handle, to things that are very distressing for them. And I know in my own life that there have been many times when I've heard somebody does something and I can feel myself going off, getting upset about it. And then somehow you get a tiny bit more information about what's happened for that person. And suddenly all the irritation and anger just dissolves. It's just gone. Oh, that's what's going on. But at first we weren't able to have a sense of that. And I know that one time in the prison there was this very inspiring he wasn't super young, I'd say middle-aged man, maybe in his 30s. And it was such an amazing story he told. He told about going into the washing area and putting, I guess they're hooks. I don't know if all the prisons are set up the same, but where he was, there were sinks and then there were some hooks. And he put his towel or clothes, maybe to change of clothes, on the hook. And he was washing up. And some other guy came in and took his stuff off the hook in a very aggressive way. Sort of, kind of threatening, kind of saying, watch out for me. And this man had the mindfulness, the kindness to not get all upset, even though this guy threw his clothes on the floor. I mean, that could really get you off. And instead, he just kept washing his hands, picked up his stuff, and left. Didn't make a deal of it. Didn't turn it into something when easily it could have turned into something pretty big. And so we asked him, how did you do that? How did you know? What happened there? And he said, well, I don't know, maybe that guy's mother just died. What incredible wisdom. Because maybe so. Or maybe something smaller. Maybe he didn't get the breakfast he liked. It doesn't matter how big or small it is in our view. What matters is that this guy was upset. And that rather than think, oh, well, he's looking for a fight and I'm going to give it to him, this guy said, I'm not going to give him a fight. He clearly needs something. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to aggravate the fact that he is clearly distressed about something. And I think he said, I'm trying to remember the story. I should have written it down. It's such a beautiful story. I think he said that later in the day, he actually talked to the man and sort of asked him, was he doing okay? Was anything happening? And the man apologized and said, no, I was having a really hard time, and thank you for asking, and I'm sorry I threw your stuff on the ground. Pretty remarkable story. But a kind of story that can happen over and over for any of us if we can kind of get out of ourselves and look with some clarity at, well, what's really happening for this other person, and how might I help rather than make it even worse, rather than light the fire. And maybe the helping is just by getting out of the way, like Mr. Keogh said, by just giving that person space. Sometimes, you guys can be pretty contracted. You don't have a lot of space where you are. Sometimes maybe just helping that person have a little bit of personal space. Or maybe saying, how you doing today? Look like you're not feeling so well. Anything I can do? So there isn't one answer. It's not that do this and everything will work out okay. Because what it is that we're developing is a sense of connection, a sense of kindness, a sense of feeling how other people might be feeling too, and an interest in how they're feeling. Because when we do that, it helps ourselves, because that comes back to us, and it helps them, because everybody likes to feel connected. So these are just some of the ways in which our practice helps in moment to moment, mundane, silly daily life, just washing your face, just in all the little moment to moment interactions we have. And how, when we can use our mindfulness to pause and to consider, well, where would kindness be in this situation? How do I, if I'm not going to react with anger and irritation, how would I bring kindness? That makes life easier. Easier for us, easier for the people around us. And that's a gift. So those would be my thoughts. Mr. Questwell, do you have some thoughts as well?
Yeah, I have. I'd like to expand a little on this reactivity versus responding, and how mindfulness can really help us, especially over time, get more into the habit of responding rather than reacting. Mindfulness is really, in a way, defined as keeping in mind what you want to be about. So we practice that when we meditate, keeping in mind that what we're about is the breathing body, and that we're keeping in mind that we want to be kind to ourselves. We've talked about self-compassion. And then when we're out in the world, it takes a strong intention to keep in mind that what we're about is responding rather than reacting, and that what we're about is kindness to others. And this is going to be easier if we have really explored our own suffering or discontent, and if we have noticed that we often react rather than respond, and if we can be comfortable with the fact that that has occurred, and with the fact that we're working to improve that, and thinking about that at times in terms of, so this other person is struggling with the same thing. If they do something that's irritating to me, chances are they're reacting rather than responding skillfully. And so, can I focus more on the fact that all of us fail at times, and that all of us have influences, not only from what happened today, but from what happened clear back into our childhood, and that all of these conditions that I've lived through have created in me an imperfect being, and the conditions that this other person has lived through creates their imperfections. And can this cause me to pause and to not react, but to notice within myself that this is making me uncomfortable, be kind and patient with that feeling, and then to recognize that, of course, this other person is imperfect, just as I am. And what might I do to help? But I think the key component there is the initial, do we react or do we respond? And mindfulness is really training in not reacting. We're training at keeping something in mind, keeping that intention in mind, and not simply reacting to the impulse to go to something less skillful.
Thank you.
So we want to cultivate within ourselves the ability to not react.
Thank you very much, both of you. So let's end with another meditation, lots to consider and reflect upon. So just settling back. Maybe taking a deeper breath. Completely filling the lungs, the upper chest, all the way to the collarbones. Holding the breath for just a moment and then slowly releasing. Letting that exhale be a letting go of any concerns or fears or worries. Maybe taking one or two more deep breaths like that at your own pace. Breathing fully in, filling every inch of the chest cavity. Holding it for just a moment. And then slowly, with control, exhaling. Feeling any sense of relaxation in the body as that happens. Letting that slow, long exhale be an opportunity to release. Release tension, release agitation, release stuck thoughts. To get a sense of greater connectedness to this body breathing. Just being a body. Giving yourself this very moment right now without any requirements, any demands, any expectations. Maybe even just as we talked about, considering what others may need in this moment of quiet practice, considering what this body may need, your own body, your own mind. What kind of kindness or compassion might be offered here and now? Noticing what the breath is like and how might the breath feel easier, smoother. Less like it's squeezing the body, more like it's massaging the body. Sometimes we talk about the awareness in meditation as a way of learning to let go of the content of our thoughts and instead get a sense of the feeling tone of our thoughts. What's the feeling that's happening without all the storyline of the content? If the feeling is kind of dull and flat, maybe breathing a little more deeply so that there's more energy. Maybe bringing something to mind that always makes you smile. Someone you love. An image of a kitten or a puppy. Something that inspires you. Something that lifts the heart. If the thoughts are agitated and jumpy, restless, again, not connecting to the storyline, the content, connecting to the feeling tone of agitation or restlessness or anger or aggravation, and noticing where that is in the body. And likely it's a tightening, a contraction, a tensing. And so seeing if you might release, open, relax the body. So we use the breath to help us become sensitive to our own feeling tone, to our own experience, our own sense of this very moment. And to offer kindness to this very moment. To be that high school administrator who gave us a hug. To give ourselves that sense of connection and kindness. Well, I'm glad we had this chance to hopefully be together again. I hope your practice is a support and a help in every moment of your life. And we'll see you again in a few weeks. I'll let the other two say goodbye and then we'll end our session. Mr. Keogh.
I'd just like the viewers to remember that this is a practice, not just something to watch, but it's something to do. And that's when it'll begin really paying off in lots of different ways that we haven't even begun talking about. In the meantime, remember that people are thinking of you. You're not forgotten there. Take care.
Yeah, I wish all of you the very best in these difficult times, and hoping that these recordings that we're making can help, you can learn something from them, or they help remind you of something, or they help inspire you in some way. So be well.
So thank you all. May you have the courage and strength to offer yourself kindness every moment and others as well. Take care.